I spoke to 7 different people who all got A stars in their A levels, and they all had the same secret: past papers. Past papers are single-handedly the most overpowered study technique that you can use if, of course, you use them correctly. There's a reason every single study technique that I come across has them as one of the best study techniques to ever exist. Take this one for an example. This research that I have over here says that reweight practice testing is having high utility. Testing effects have been demonstrated across an impressive range of practice test formats, kinds of material, learner ages, outcome measures, and even retention intervals. Thus, practice testing has broad applicability. But as I said in the start, past papers are only overpowered if you know how to use them correctly. Because more often than not, we completely butcher the use of past papers. So here's a full comprehensive guide on what past papers are and how you can use them or leverage them to get the top grades. Okay, so past papers are just exam papers from previous years. I mean, it's literally in the name, past papers. Let's say you're sitting your A-level exams in the summer of 2026. Any exam papers from 2025, 24, 23, 22 that you can use to test yourself are considered past papers. But the way you use past papers is slightly different, because you have yearly past papers, as we just talked about, summer of 2025, summer of 2024, but you also have something called topical past papers. Topical past papers are just essentially when websites go through every single exam paper, go question by question and categorize each question into topics. So for example, on a yearly past paper, you're going to have different topics. You're going to have organic chemistry, you're going to have rates of reactions, and onwards, What the websites will do is that they'll go question by question and categorize those questions. Oh, this question is from organic chemistry, this question is from rates and reactions. And they'll do this for every session. So from 2025 to 2015. And then they'll make a PDF or a question list of those exact questions, but in a topical form. It makes practice testing yourself much more easier because you can go ahead and do it after every topic. The best websites that do this I know are called ExamMate, physicsandmathstudio.com, and Save My Exam. So you can check out all 3 in the description below. Okay, so now that we know what past papers are, and more specifically what topical and yearly past papers are, let's see why past papers are considered the holy grail of study techniques. When we talk about past papers, they're not just practice questions, they're actually much more than that, because they come with something called a marking scheme, and that marking scheme is arguably more important than the past paper itself. Here's how it works. Once you attempt the questions from that past paper, you can go ahead and look in the marking scheme to check if your answers are correct or not. And when it comes to marking schemes, it's not just, oh, this answer is correct, this is the correct answer. They go into a lot more detail. They go into like what are the rejected answers, what are the correct answers, what can be potentially correct answers, or what are partial marks for. All of that stuff, they go into a lot more detail. And I don't know if you guys know, there's something called an examiner's guide, which is basically 10 times more detailed than a normal marking scheme. An examiner's guide is basically when the person who's marking everyone's exam, they all make notes of different stuff. So they make notes of what are the common mistakes, what a lot of people got wrong, what was the average marks that people got on that test, and a lot more stuff. So basically it goes into a lot more detail than your average marking scheme. And I don't know if Cambridge does this. I know that Edexcel does, because Edexcel marking guides are absolutely insane. They go into a lot of detail, and like literally if you don't use them, you are leaving gains behind on the table. Another thing past papers and marking schemes do a lot better than other things is your definitions. Like basically, let's say you're studying from a textbook or notes that you found on the internet. Now, let's say you're studying a topic and that topic has a definition. That definition might be different in your textbook. It might be different in the notes. But when it comes to your exam, when your marking scheme, and let's say define this, right? That's a question in your exam. You go and look at the marking scheme, and it will have the exact definition. And the reason that's so important is because that question might get asked again and again in different sessions of past papers. Not just past papers, but even your exams. So if you learn from the marking scheme itself, you will never get that answer wrong. Whereas if you write the textbook definition in your exam paper, there's a chance that you might miss out a keyword or something and you might get that question wrong. But if you study from your marking scheme itself, it's literally a cheat code, because you're taking the exact definition that the examiner is looking for and memorizing it, or whatever it may be, right? So it's so essential that you start studying from your marking scheme, because then you just won't get a question wrong. And as I said, most past paper have something called repeated questions, which is like, it's basically a guaranteed question that's going to be on your exam. And if you learn, or like guaranteed set of questions that are going to be in your exam, if you learn them from the past paper itself and you memorize the definition that's written in the marking scheme, you're basically guaranteed those marks, because they're getting repeated on almost every single year. and you learn the definition from the marking scheme itself, which the examiner wrote. So it's literally a cheat code that it's guaranteed marks, free marks if you just learn the definition from the marking scheme itself. The last reason why I will mention in this video is that past papers are so great is because they're an active form of study technique. So when I mentioned every single research that I've read over on past papers or active recall, which is essentially just doing past papers, they all say past papers are an effective, active study technique. The reason it's active, it's the most activist, I don't know how to say it, it's the most active study technique that you're going to come across, because you're literally challenging your brain when you're trying to recall a concept to answer that question. You're going to see a question, you're going to force your brain to recall a concept and to answer that question. And that basically does active learning. Like your brain is actually trying hard to study and to learn and remember stuff that it's going to have way much more of an ROI than, let's say, just revising notes or something like that. Like, it's actually unimaginable how efficient past papers are when it comes to just being a good study technique. Okay, so now that we've covered what past papers are and why they're so important, let's see why it's so important to track them. Doing past papers without tracking them is kind of pointless. Just like you wouldn't go to the gym and like not count your weight, not count your reps, not count your sets. Like, it just doesn't make sense. If you're doing past papers, you're doing it because you want to track it and you want to improve over time. And if you're not tracking it, how are you going to do that? What tracking your past paper does, it basically allows you to understand where you're going wrong. Are your marks improving over time? Let's say I'm doing like 10 past papers. The first one I got, let's say 80 out of 100, which is a bit of an exaggeration, but then on the 10th one I got 95 out of 100. Then I can visibly see the change that's coming of me doing those past papers. Another thing is, like, if you're struggling on a concept or if you're struggling on questions, you can note them down. You can have a track of, okay, so in this past paper I got this topic wrong, I got this many questions wrong, here's my weak points. And in general, it just allows you to understand your strengths and weaknesses way better than not tracking them. So if you're not tracking your past papers, you are 100% gonna like leave gains behind on the table or leave marks on the table, because then you won't be able to understand. Like, let me give you an example. Let's say I ask you right now, what are your struggles when it comes to A-level chemistry? You might just say organic chemistry, which is a pretty vague answer, right? But if you've been tracking your past paper and you know like what questions you're getting wrong, you will just tell me immediately that, oh, I'm struggling with, alkenes or alkynes or whatever it may be. I'm struggling with hydrolysis, I don't know, electrolysis. So once you start tracking your past paper and you see what questions you get wrong, you're going to start understanding, okay, this is my weak point and this is how I can improve it. Like, I'm clearly getting electrolysis questions wrong every single time I do a chemistry past paper. So that means electrolysis is my weak point, and I should probably be doing more topical questions, just more practice on electrolysis in general. Now, if you don't know how to track your past papers, don't worry, I got you, because I have my own ultimate study planner that allows you to track every single past paper along with its marks and all that good stuff that will allow you to understand your weaknesses, your strong points, and basically just turn you into a beast when it comes to doing past papers. If you want to check it out, it's the first link in the description below. Another secret for you guys who stuck to the end is something I did in my A-levels that helped me get an insane grade in A-level maths. Basically, maths is all about the type of questions, the variations in questions. Like you might study a concept, but there's so many different styles of questions on that same topic that you just get bamboozled. What I did is I made a note of all those type of questions. I'll put it on the screen right now. And what that basically allowed me to do is understand every single type of question. And on the day of my exam, I just went through that PDF, understanding, okay, this type of question can come from the same topic of, let's say, trigonometric proofs, right? This type of question can come, this type of question can come, this type of question can come. And I just basically went over that before the exam and understood all of the type of questions that could possibly come on the exam. And I aced that shit. Literally aced it. Because how easy it was, since I knew every type of question that might come. I don't know how many times I said type of question, but you understand what I'm trying to say. I made a list, revised it before the exam, understood the possible, I'm not going to say type, possible type of questions, bro, that could come on the exam, and I aced that shit. So that's how easy it is. Do past papers efficiently, track them, understand your weaknesses and your strong points, and literally that's all that you have to do. Spam as many past papers as you can, if in an efficient manner. Time yourself properly as well, and go over the marking scheme, understanding each question that you got wrong, because that is very important. Anyways, that is it for today's video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it, and now you understand why everyone says do past papers, especially your teachers and your like parents. I don't know if they tell you to do it, but past papers are indeed very key. They are literally your key to success. Like every smart person I've ever met, they're not just naturally a genius. All they do is spam past papers and understand the proper way to do past papers. So that's all you guys have to do as well. No, it doesn't matter if you have an IQ of 150 or IQ 50. Like if you spam past papers, you're going to get so used to the type of questions, style of questions, that you're going to be able to just do it like this. So just do as many as you can. Do your preparation. Good luck with A-levels. And yeah, check out my past paper tracker in the description below. And subscribe to the channel right over here. And check out 2 of these videos. I'll see you with another video very soon. Take care and bye-bye.